Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business after hours.
Yo, 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 what up, everybody? Welcome to the Business After Hours podcast here with Jeff, Jared, and our guest, Barry. How you doing, Barry?
I am great. Jeff, Jared, how are you guys?
Doing wonderful.
It's hump day. It's hump day.
It is hump day, isn't it?
Well, Barry, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't mean to do it, but I became one. It was kind of an accident. But originally, I wanted to be a musician, not a rock star, but a writer of hit songs and producer. And I played in rock bands. And as the years went on, as a teenager, I'm saying I did that. And then as the years went on till I got into my mid-20s or so, I was very involved with music as well as creating jingles, those irritating little ditties that you hear on the radio. So I had a jingle company and a rock band. The rock band had a song on MTV, song on the Billboard charts, did pretty well. And then tragedy struck in my life as I lost my father. He was a 63-year-old man when he passed away. And it was a wake-up call for me. You know, it's one of those real tough gut punches. And the wake-up call for me, guys, was, I was a young guy like you guys, and I thought, all of a sudden, maybe I'm not going to live forever, Maybe I got to start thinking about what should I be doing? What do I really want to do with the rest of my life? And then much to my surprise, because it was like I was talking to myself, which I guess I was, I decided I wanted to pursue my business as opposed to my band. I think I was kind of done with the band. The band was not a very fair situation, not because of the guys. They were great, but the music industry back then was really difficult. It's worse now, by the way, but it was really difficult back then. Very unfair. And so I went into business doing jingles and doing audio work. And a client of mine came to me and offered me an opportunity to take over their marketing. And long story short, I kept turning them down. I kept saying, no, I'm not really a marketing guy. I'm an audio guy. And I kept saying, no, you go. Here's some names for some people. You go and talk to them. Well, after a year, they called me back, and I thought, oh gosh, here they are again. And I thought, what do I do? How do I just let these guys down? And why won't they leave me alone? And the guy said again, hey, I want you to take over our marketing. We'll give you a 3-year deal. You'll be, in essence, our marketing department, but it's your own company. And I said, oh, look, I've given you all these other names of companies. Why do you keep coming back? And he said, because we trust you. Mm. And I went, ooh. So at that very moment, I became a full-service agency. Sounds like it was great. Sounds like I lucked into it. That was wonderful. Well, it was a mess of a department that I took over. And the very next day, after I officially became an ad agency instead of a little jingle company, all of my ad agency clients, which were most of my business, called me up and said, hey, we're not working with you anymore. You're a competitor. So I thought, wow, what a great move I made. So turned out great. It was a great move. I stayed working with that company for about 10 years, and we did well with them. And it opened up the world to me to create marketing ideas and other creative things. So that's what's brought me today. Today, we work with really cool companies like Harley-Davidson, Macallan Scotch, Stoli Vodka, Audi, Volkswagen, and we work with some small companies that we love every bit as much that are just great.
What did you know about marketing prior to?
I didn't know marketing. I didn't even know what marketing was compared to advertising, compared to sales, compared to whatever. I did know creativity, and I did really understand the concept of communicating. The idea that you can be talking and people shut off because what you're saying is not authentic. And it drove me to focus on one word, and that's differentiation.
Mm.
And that's what I wrote my book on. The book's called The Power of Differentiation. That's what I work with the bulk of my clients on. They come to me and they go, look, we think we've got a good product, but we think we should change this, and that. And I go, well, let's determine what you do that's really great. The things you do that you should not change, let's do that first before you go, crazy changing a lot of things, including possibly some of the few things you do that are really awesome. So that's what I do for a living. I look for what is unique and powerful and magical, and then I work with people to make sure that's what they focus on.
So you were pretty much on the job training then for like official marketing.
Yeah, a lot of it was on the job training. I guess I look at things kind of differently in that I don't look at marketing really that differently from what communication is or what selling is or whatever, because it's all dealing with humans. And we're trying to explain what makes something valuable enough for you to go buy it. That's what it comes down to. And it's not snake oil salesman stuff where you're lying to people. I won't do that. And we're not doing any of that stuff. But it's more of looking for the magic. Like if somebody in the audience has a child and somebody says, your son, let's say, your son is really great at this. He really does . A lot of times the parent's going to go, are you talking about my kid?
Right.
Right? Okay. And that's what I do with companies. I identify what that is. And they normally go, are you kidding me? And I go, well, is it true or not? And they go, ooh, you might be right. Now, what's beautiful, once you discover your uniqueness, your differentiation, your life becomes easier because you can wake up every day and go, I know what I'm doing, and I do it pretty darn well, as opposed to, hey, I've got to change this, that, this, and that. I got to pretend to be this and this and that. And you wake up that next morning and go, oh, crap, I got to go through this again. I got to push. It's like, oh, I can't stand it. You got to be who you are. You got to embrace it. You got to celebrate it. And then you got to work really hard to make sure people understand it. And by the way, that you deliver it. So you can say, I do these great things, but if you don't deliver on it, then, maybe you aren't that good.
Right. So that brings my question is, so you brought up a great analogy about parenting and, somebody else seeing something else in your child and you're like, what, my kid? No. For somebody that's like just getting started or maybe a year or two in, can't really afford that outside perspective from a company to identify that, because that's probably, I would assume, the easiest way and fastest way of identifying that. So how can a company or how can a business owner actually identify that within themselves by being real, one, with themselves, and then two, identifying that what differentiates them?
Well, I think that's a great question. There are a couple of different ways they can do it, but it's in essence the same journey, which is either you can do this yourself or with some of your friends or some of your clients and say, please tell me, what are we doing that's unique? Or come into my facility and look at what we're doing and tell me what you think is unique. And you can't go to one person. It's got to be a number of people. Or you hire a company like my company, and we come in, we send in a technical team, and they go through, if it's a plant or a factory, we'll go through the processes, we'll go through the metallurgy, we'll go through the machinery, we'll go through everything. If it's a service company, we'll look at what is your brand experience? What are you delivering? What are you promising? Do you have a warranty? Do you have certain technology? So one way or another, you've got to find out why somebody values you enough to work with you instead of some competitor. And it cannot be, I'll just help the audience here, it cannot be these nice, soft things like, well, we're really nice people. Our people make the difference. It cannot be that, because nobody has a DNA advantage, right? Nobody can say, oh, the DNA of our people. No, you can't say that. So it could be any of the things I mentioned. It could be the internal experience at your company. It could be the education. It could be the philosophy the company's built on. I don't know what it is until I search it, but you've got to be sincere about it. And one other thing I'd love to help the audience with, even if you're a small company, by the way, this applies, is you can't have 27 different unique differentiators. Nobody's that good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got 2 or 3 and you really leverage them and focus on them, then you have a good chance.
That's good. No, that's good, because I think that's one thing a lot of business owners, especially either just starting out or, kind of on that bubble of either a breakthrough or kind of just making it, seem to be missing the mark, is that differentiating of what their company provides compared to their competition. And I think that's important that you were saying, is finding that and then exposing that and playing off of that is definitely. Is that something that you learned early on, or is that something that took you a little bit to learn for yourself? Or
Well, I learned that in the music industry, in that if you think about it, I guarantee Jared has a favorite band, you have a favorite band, I have a favorite band. They may all be different bands, right? So why? Well, there's something that you find unique, differentiating or whatever, okay? And I found that out early because some of our favorite musicians and performers, in some ways, especially some technical ways, are not that good. They're not that advanced. I mean, Bob Dylan is a terrible singer, okay? He's horrible, and he would admit that, okay? But if you really love lyrics and you really love certain types of folk songs and things like that, man, he's a genius, right? But if you
Right.
don't, somebody else say, I hate that guy, I hate that voice. So I learned that early on. I think one thing for up and coming entrepreneurs, and they could be solopreneurs or people running a small business, the challenge I think you have, because I had it, is, hey, you're trying to make a living, you're trying to succeed, and you're competing with all these other companies out there. And honestly, your first answer, if a client says, hey, do you do, is yes. You go, yes. Can you guys do? Yeah, we can do that. What about, oh yeah, we do that. Okay. And that's understandable. It is understandable. And I am not recommending, because I could not recommend it with good conscience, to say no. Say no all the time. Say no, because I did not say no all the time. So I'd love to say I was that powerful and confident, but I did not. But as you get your feet underneath you and you're starting to stand tall, you have to look at, what is it that makes me unique and how can I stay in that area? Now, one other thing I'll share with your group is sometimes a real fun exercise is this. And I did this a couple years into my business, and it was a life changer. And that is, I brought all the people in my company, all like 5 of them, into the room. And I said, hey, I'm getting real frustrated. It seems like it's tough with some of these clients we have. Some clients I love, some clients are so difficult, and some we make money with, and some we can't make a dime with. So they all looked at me like I was insane. I said, well, let's put them up on the board. And I said, what clients do we really love? So it was a list of clients. I said, what clients do we just not get along with? And it was a list, pretty big list. I said, okay, what clients do we make profit on? Well, it was a list again. And which ones do we not? It was another list. And I said, which ones do we have a future with? And it was another list. And I said, which ones don't we? And it was another list. And then I looked at it, and it was not 6 different lists. It was 2. The clients that really loved us were the ones we really loved and the ones we made money with. And then the others were the ones that were the fights and they were the turmoils. Okay, so that was step 1. We then said, okay, what do the clients we work with all have in common? And we found a few things they had in common. And it was like, oh my gosh. So it could be an industry. It could be their size. In our situation, we found that many of our clients, now this sounds very unexciting, many of our clients at that time had dealers or distributors. So they sold through dealers. So let's say it was Audi of America or Volkswagen. They sell through dealers. Or it could be a big trucking company. They sell through dealers. None of them sold direct. This was prior to internet, but as an example, none of them would sell direct from the internet or virtually. Right. So I thought, now wait a minute. The clients that love us have a certain profile, and if we really focus on that kind of company, we're going to end up talking to more people like them, and we're going to be doing more of the same kind of work that we know, and life will be better. And it was. It's kind of like, I like to look at it like this. Let's say you're one of the world's leading orthopedic surgeons, and you focus on people's knees, on their knees, right? You fix knees, right? Knee reconstruction. All right. Every day, all you do is look at people's knees. That's all you do. And you're looking at their knee. Now, sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a man, sometimes the person weighs 300 pounds, somebody might weigh 80 pounds. So they're not the same knee, but you're looking at the same thing, and you get better and better and better at it. And you get to the point where nobody understands that part of the body better than you. And as time goes on, people come to you because that's what you do, as opposed to somebody says, hey, my elbow hurts. And you go, well, it kind of looks like a knee. I'll try that. Hey, I got a brain injury. Well, let me work on that too. No, you can't do that. You got to say, look, this is what I do. And I think that's important for us as beginning entrepreneurs, and those of us who've been around like me for 40 plus years.
You mentioned something good that I think a lot of business owners, and that's the power of no.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So as a business owner starting out, again, why is that word powerful?
I think the reason the word no is powerful is that most of the time people are trying to say yes so they can get money.
Correct.
They want money. They want you to give them money. So yes, I can do it. Yes, yes, yes. And once in a while, when it's a bit of a stretch, but you can do it, sometimes it's actually kind of good to say, okay, I'll go for it. Let's go for it. Like I did with that one company where finally they begged me and I said, okay, I'll do it. But I think we have to realize that most of the time, and I'll share this with clients that are talking to me, they're really prospects, not clients, but they'll say, oh, do you do this and this and that and this and this and that? And I go, well, look, about 2/3 of the time when I meet with a prospect, it's not a good fit. And I will quickly as I can realize it and suggest a different company for them to talk to. Because most of the time it's not going to be the perfect fit. And once in a while, they'll argue with me and go, no, I think you'd be a really good fit. And then I go, okay, well, let's talk about this because there's something they're hearing or sensing, right? But we have to have some sense of independence. I'll give another secret to the entrepreneurs out there. I did this accidentally and it worked out great. I was talking to my employees one day and I said, we're pretty busy, but I want to keep growing. And of course, they're going, oh, we'll all die if we get any more work. We can't handle the work. And I'm going, okay. And I thought, number one, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you wake up in the morning and you go, oh my gosh, I got to sell 8,000 projects or whatever you sell, right? And the truth is, when you kind of sober up from that insane thought, you need one or two. You don't need 80. 8,000, 4,000. Come on. And so it occurred to me, I thought, do I want in my marketing, advertising, and training business, do I want 50 clients? Number one. Number two, could I serve 50 clients? I could not serve 50 new clients without losing every client I had and every employee I had. They'd go out of their minds. So I thought, what if I just have a goal of 2 new clients this year? And I thought, now when I say new clients, I meant new full service clients, not a client I'll do $10 with, but a client that would be a regular client, right? So I thought, okay. So I sat down with a prospect and I was going through my presentation and I said, by the way, our goal is we're going to add only 2 new clients this year because we want to take care of the clients we had. And immediately the guy's eyes were wide open and he leaned right into me. He goes, okay, I want to be one of them. I thought, wow, this worked. I didn't mean it to be that way, but wow. But I created scarcity. So one reason when you say no is you're helping to create a little scarcity.
Okay.
And that's important. And I created a little scarcity accidentally. I didn't do it as a ploy, but it worked out. When I said, look, I only want 2 more. So all the folks in the audience that are listening that are young entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs, try to think real clearly. How many new clients could you handle? Or customers, if you call them customers, how many could you really handle if they came today and they said, okay, I'm ready? And you'd be surprised how small that number is. And it's a good thing that it's small. And it also gives you a power to be able to share, look, I don't want 25 new clients. I'm looking for 2 this year. And I'm going to be pretty careful as to which ones I say yes to.
Oh, that's good. That scarcity, I think, is a scary thought for a lot, because obviously turn down business and that's turning down income out of your family and whatnot. But knowing that strategically, even if it's done strategically or not, but that it could be something that propels your business at the same time.
Right. Well, and you're right. I think it's interesting. There's scarcity and it's scary. I mean, they're both very similar words, but if you really get granular about it, if you land the wrong client and they're not going to be profitable and it's going to be really difficult to deal with them, you did not gain anything good.
True.
So it's not like you lost something.
Right.
So again, it's easy to say at my age and my position in life to say no. But I am just saying it's the more you can kind of rev up some of that courage and at least say in the middle of those discussions, I'm not 100% convinced I'm the right fit for you and vice versa. So let's talk a little bit. Here are a couple concerns I have, and let's see if I can get through them. Maybe you have a few about me too. But that kind of authenticity is very rare. And I do think that is a smart thing to do too.
Agree. George, you got anything?
I mean, so this is really good conversation because I also feel like saying no is something that develops self-respect for you and your company. You know what I mean? Like understanding that not everybody is a right fit. Now, what would you say to those companies that are trying to get into, say, something like marketing or say financial investments, and that they can set themselves apart from all the others, because there's obviously a dime a dozen for marketing, there's a dime a dozen for financial advisors, it feels like. How do you set yourself apart when you're just starting out?
Well, I think that's a great question, because this is why differentiation is so important. If you're a financial advisor and you're offering your clientele the same stocks, ETPs or whatever that everybody else is offering, you got to think about, it's like, okay, where are you going to be different? Right? So you have to be able to say, okay, I can offer all those same things everyone else does, but here's where I am different. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine's considering, he's going to retire, and his wife has been a realtor, and she's very picky about whoever she'll do any realty work with. And he's just a fantastic relationship person. And I said, what's interesting is, I said, if you really do join up with your wife, I would position you as a kind of a concierge realtor and just say, look, we only take on, I'll make it up, 5 clients at a time, or 10, whatever the number is. Because we're going to focus on each of our clients one-on-one and give them time. And if we're working with a client on a given day, that's the only client we're working with, as an example, as opposed to, I'm going to be taking phone calls from other clients, I'm going to be seeing other realtors. Okay. Because in their world, and it's just like financial planning and stuff like that, there's so much competition. And their competition in their world could be husband and wife teams that'll take anybody on. And they have like 60 clients, 70 clients, those competitors. And, that sounds great. Wow, they're really big. Okay, well, how good is their customer experience? It can't be that good, right? So I look at things like that. You got to be honest. You can't just, I can't buy stock from a particular financial advisor cheaper than I would from someone else if it's on the stock market, right? So what can they deliver to me? Is it more of a premium focus for my business? So again, we only have blank number of customers. Okay. Or I focus on X. A friend of mine is a financial planner, and here's his elevator speech. Now, he's 65 years old, and he works with people who are established. So he would not take on a 30 or 40-year-old. And he says, look, most people that are in my industry, the financial planning industry, they say, I'm going to take you from point A to point B. And he said, I'm different. I work with clients that are at point B, and I keep them there. I protect what they've got so they never go back. Now, that's his approach. That also means he's more conservative. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be more conservative. So if you said, hey, I want to put $1 million into such and such, he's going to say, you're out of your mind. I can't keep you at point B, because if that's a mistake, you're going way back to point A. So you find a way to position yourselves uniquely. And again, it's not just personalities. It's so things you could do like that. You could talk about how you limit the number of clients. You could talk about your philosophy that's different. It could be your customer experience that's different. Whatever it is, you got to set it apart somehow.
That's really good. And I think that the listeners will really get something out of that as well. What would be your recommendation, or when somebody's looking at starting their marketing, they're a new business, they're ready to do it. What are your kind of recommendations on how to get into marketing, how to focus it in the right direction?
Now, when you ask that, are you talking about somebody trying to become a marketing company, or somebody that has a business and they want to market their business?
Someone that has a business and is looking to market their business.
Okay. I think one of the biggest things to do, and this will save money, don't worry about a fancy logo. Don't worry about some crazy tagline. Don't look at your website, as an example. Don't look at your website and think it's got to be perfect. And boy, my website's going to sell this for me at all. Start very, very loose, very honestly cheap. Not necessarily cheap looking, but cheap. Don't try to come up with the next Nike logo for your business, because especially when you're a startup, none of that means anything. What means everything is if you understand the one or two things you do that are unique, and you're able to express those to people, even if it's imperfect, even if it's a little sophomoric in your logo. People at that stage of your development, they don't care. Now, after you become $100 million company, yeah, sure. Yeah, you got to do those things, but too much is wasted in themoney, resources, and time and hope trying to put together the perfect logo. It's goofy. There's no purpose to it. So, and my company does logos. So, and I tell clients that. I'll say, hey, you don't need a new logo. Some of the clients will get a hold of us and go, look, I hate my logo. It's horrible. We need a new logo because we need to grow our business. And I go, you do need to grow your business. Your logo's okay. It's no big deal. If I worked with you, we'd tweak it a little bit, but it wouldn't be anything major. And they go, no, we need a new logo. I go, the logo's not the issue. You got to have your message. What is your message?
Why is that a perception that logos and taglines are it?
I think they're kind of sexy. They're kind of cool and sexy. And you look at Apple and you go, oh, isn't Apple cool? Well, Apple's first logo was terrible. And their name wasn't Apple. Their name was Apple Computer Company, I think it was. So it was a limiting name. Think about that. They do a lot more than computers today. But they were Apple Computer Company. They had a lousy, very, very sophomorish logo. And then they had another one, I think, when they went to Macintosh as their product name, or one of their products. So I think it's just because it's sexy and cool. But it's not It's just a lot of money. And that's why, I mean, you could do something on AI or Fiverr or something really cheap. That's not really what the point is. The point is, what is your story?
Right.
If you can explain in 1 or 2 sentences what makes you unique, then you have a chance. I still, after 40 plus years, I tell people, look, I focus on one word, differentiation. And then I shut up and people go, okay. And I wrote a book. I've wrote the book on differentiation. I have a podcast on differentiation. I've done 75 podcasts as a guest on differentiation. I've worked with hundreds of companies on differentiation, and I have a process that is unique to determine differentiation. Now, my point is, if somebody says to me, look, I think we already know what makes us different, then I say, great, we're probably not that good for you.
Yeah.
It's like, because I'm going to get into a fight with that person all the time. I'm going to go, oh, you ought to do. No, I already have it figured out. Well, I don't want to work with somebody that's got it figured out. I want somebody that's got some humility that says, hey, I want to work with somebody that I think is relatively intelligent and see what they think about what our company could really become.
No, it's good. How do you, because you've obviously been in the marketing industry for a while, you said 40 years.
Long time, 40 years.
A lot has changed in 40 years in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
How is social media? Has it complicated things? Has it made things easier? Has it just made it kind of, I don't want to say harder, but like, I guess complicated would probably be the word. But what's social media's impact been on marketing since its inception?
I think it makes things easier, to be honest with you. You can go create your own social media campaign yourself. You can put out posts every single day yourself. They don't have to be expensive. Here's one thing that's really great for all listening. Thanks to social media, videos, photography, a lot of that is at a lower level of quality or production level. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is 20 years ago, if you were going to do a video, oh my gosh, you're going to have to spend a lot of money because that's got to be perfect. It's got to have the right lighting, this expensive camera. And then, oh my gosh, it's got to be edited. Ooh, wow. Okay, now you can do it yourself, right? And the reason you can do it yourself is that the market has opened up because millions of people are doing their own social media, their own YouTube videos, all of that. So it's easier today. It's inexcusable if you're running even a small company to not have regular, consistent social media messages. It's also unacceptable to have those messages talking about how great you are or how funny you are or how quirky your group is and how you guys like to play ping pong in the basement and that stuff. Nobody cares. What's important is focusing on things that are of interest, preferably positive things, that may not even have anything to do with you, but like what you guys are doing for podcasting, right? Okay, that's smart. You're interviewing people. You're learning from people. You're spreading the word. That's smart. And it's not about you. You interview different guests. And that's a smart thing. So you think about that. If you can get your name out there and have it associated in the way you want, and it's that easy, it's crazy. One quick example. During COVID, it was, very, very much a very tense and emotional time for, like a year for almost everybody. And on social media, there were a lot of angry people on LinkedIn, let's say. Forget Facebook, because that would have been insane. But let's say LinkedIn. A lot of angry people, a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. And then there were the typical small companies saying, look how great we are. We're really neat. We're really cool people. Look how cool we are, and I'm going, oh, I hate this. So we came up with a program that we put out 3 days a week throughout COVID. And it was all about the positive things that were going on, that people were doing to help others get through COVID. So it could have been a police officer who did such and such. It could have been some people who brought groceries to an elderly lady who was afraid to go into the supermarket, things like this. And there were stories all over the place that we would go find, and we would say, look what this person did, blah, blah, blah. This is amazing, you know. And the idea was like, you know, let's, instead of worrying about catching COVID, let's catch this inspiration and, you know, that kind of thing. And we did that for a year. And it had nothing about my company in it. I mean, people knew we sponsored it, we did it, but it didn't say, hey, look what I did, or look what, no, look what this person did, look what that person did. And you're shining a light. And what happened was throughout COVID, we represented a message that resonated with some people, not everybody, but some people. And I heard from some people I really respect, and they go, you know, your messaging is so sincere and positive. You know, it gives me hope. And so much of the other stuff, I just feel like I'm out in the middle of the ocean and I'm all alone and I'm in a rowboat and I got no oars. I don't know what to do. And I think social media gives you that opportunity. You know, gives you an opportunity. At worst case, get out there and sincerely try to give people something that they go, okay, you know what? That's cool. I like that.
Oh,
I mean, that's
good.
why I do podcasts like this. I'm not out trying to make money, but I like trying to help people. And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and I love entrepreneurs. And, you know, hey, I'm not out trying to make money off entrepreneurs, but it's a good thing to do. And, you know, I would rather do that than do nothing. I mean, so why not do that, right? And same thing with social media. So everybody out there, you know, get off your duff if you're not doing it. And if you can, do a podcast like Jared and Jeff are doing. If you're not going to go do that, get out there and have legitimate, positive, interesting messages. They can be one sentence. Don't have them talk about your greatness. And try to make LinkedIn, if that's what you're on, as an example, could be Instagram, whatever, just a little better. Just try to make it a little better.
Great advice.
It's good. Jared, thought you were going to say
So,
something.
I mean, no, but I will jump in. So I agree, you know, that having this positive outtake without having to push your agenda or push your business, and I think that's what we do here on our podcast, is really try to, you know, let the guests, you know, put who they are and who, you know, they are becoming, so that, you know, the audience can listen to that and resonate with that, you know what I mean? Because I think that's important to understand, that sometimes there's good, sometimes there's bad with business.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to admit the bad when it's bad.
Absolutely. You got to be authentic. I think, Jared, what you said is right. And you put out a message, like on your podcast as an example, you put out a message and you allow people to digest as much as they want. But at least they're going, hey, here are two guys. They're trying to learn. They're trying to help other people. It's kind of cool. Well, you know what? That's good. That's a lot more than a lot of us do.
Absolutely.
No, and I think that's, I think, do you find it hard for business owners to be humble about like their own business? Because obviously you're hyped up. Your business kind of becomes your life, your personality a little bit, especially just getting started because you're putting so much work into it. And to be humble enough to know your shortfalls and whatnot.
Yeah, I think I'd use the word vulnerable. I think it's hard to be vulnerable.
Sure.
In your business, because let's say you know, you're doing terrible and you don't know where your next dime is going to come from, and the client goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" It's kind of hard to say, you know what, I'm about to close the shop. You know, you don't want to say that, but so I think vulnerable sometimes is very tough because it's also moment to moment. When you're an entrepreneur, you live very much moment to moment, unfortunately. So every win is great. Every loss is horrific. You know, it's like the slogan that somebody told me once, and I use it too frequently probably, but whatever it is that's going on, it's not as bad as you think, and it's not as good as you think. So you just land that new thing. Hey, I'm great. No, you just come on. Or, hey, you lost this thing. It's like, okay, hold on. The world's not ending.
Right.
I think the smart entrepreneur is sincerely humble because, and I believe I am that. Okay. I've been told that many, many times. I'm not that vulnerable. I'm not going to open up and go say, hey, we just lost $1 million yesterday. And I'm not that guy.
Sure.
But I am authentically humble because I truly believe I should be. It's not all me. If I had a bunch of employees or clients that go, hey, you know what? It's been nice, but we're out of here. I'm done. So that's kind of humbling,
Sure.
you know?
Absolutely.
So, I've had people go, oh, you must feel great. You have the wind back to your back and it's going great and it must be easy. And it's just like, and I'm going, I'm also not the guy that complains about how terrible it is. I am grateful. I have no right to complain. I have no right. And I had no right when I was scraping and clawing just to get things going. And now that I'm an old man and we've done well for a few years, I have no right to be cocky and arrogant. I think the smart entrepreneur is humble, appreciative, and understands that there is no guarantee. So that also means entrepreneurs, when you have a chance and you make money on something, don't feel bad about it because there are a lot of times you had chances that didn't come through and you lost money and or time. So that's why some people look at entrepreneurs and they're appalled. I can't believe how much this guy makes. Well, I'll say to him, I said, well, he mortgaged this. He put all this on the line for that. He lost it all this one time. Then he got it all back at this time. It's like that was a roller coaster ride that most of us don't want to sign up for, And so we just have to realize that's what entrepreneurs do. We are going to be a lot of times alone or feel alone. And we are a lot of times very, very vulnerable to somebody not liking us, therefore not wanting to pay us. And we have to keep pushing through. We have to have determination. So I think humble is really important because it probably turns off less people than the guy that's arrogant and cocky. So if nothing else, it's a good statistical move to make, even if you don't genuinely feel humble. It's like, now I'm going to be humble because I'll turn off less people.
Right.
When you're talking about that, it reminds me of the fact that entrepreneurs especially don't value their time, and what that time is worth. And I think that's the other issue. And then I think on the other side of that, people don't see how much time and effort has been put in for their needs. I guess what would you be a good advice on that, on how they can really understand what the value of their time is?
Well, I think Jared, I would slightly reword it, and it may not even be their time. It's what's their value, because you might give advice to a client that did not take much time at all, but your value is really high. It might have been 30 seconds. You go, hey, wait a minute, he ought to do this. Hey, I think we have to realize our value. And in some cases, in my business, I've worked with companies. I worked with a client, and they told me, how many millions of dollars more they made because of my company, because we did this and this and that, and then fired us.
Right.
So I've had that happen. I had a guy ask me to lunch, and he said, you can't believe how much money you made me. I'm selling the company. I don't need you guys anymore. So this is it. Goodbye. I went, okay. And he said, I just want you to know you made me a lot of money. That was a lonely walk from that restaurant. And yes, I made him pick up the tab for the, turkey burger or whatever I ate. So
good.
I should have ordered some, French champagne or something right before I walked out. And just said, yeah, I want that over there. Yeah, put that in there. Oh, you go, how much is that? $3,000? No problem. Put it on the tab. I should have done that. But
let me take that bottle with me.
Right. So our value, we got to realize that. We cannot So on one side, I'm saying you got to be humble, right? But you also have to understand you have value. And you got to stand up for your value.
Agreed.
And that's hard to stay humble and understand your value. So it's like it's a teeter-tot, tossing back and forth of.
Well, I humbly believe that my company has helped clients make millions of dollars. And I humbly say that. I'm not saying that nobody else in the world could ever do it. I just humbly say we did.
You probably have numbers to back it up, though, too.
I have numbers to back it up.
Right.
And, they could say, yeah, but that wasn't all you. We had blah, blah, blah. And that's my point. I'm not getting into that.
Right.
I mean, 99% of our clients are wonderful and spectacular, and less than 1% have been difficult. Seriously. And those who have been difficult, I kind of take accountability more than I give to them the blame, let's say, because, hey, I either should have realized it or I should have behaved differently, and I didn't. So it's up to me to learn each time, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Barry, this has been fun. This has been a great conversation. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs can definitely learn from you. I do have your website here, BarryLaBov.com, correct?
Right. Yep. That's right.
And what can they learn from your website?
They can download a few free documents. They can also reach out to me. You can schedule a 15-minute appointment. I'm happy to do an entrepreneurial consult for anybody. And I also think, look at my book called The Power of Differentiation. It's on Amazon. I suggest order it, whether it's Kindle or whether it's the softback. And the one thing I ask is read it and give it a review. I think it's worthwhile. Once you read it, feel free also, again, reach out to me. Say, hey, you said this here. Hey, you said that there. What's this mean? I'm happy to help somebody. I had a few really good people in my life that helped me that made a big difference for me, and they did it out of the goodness of their heart.
I think that's something that's missing anymore these days. Is just good, genuine people willing to help. To an extent, of course, but
I'll tell you one thing, though, that reminds me that I hope this helps folks out there. Here's one thing you can do. Ask. Okay? So when I was starting my business, I was a horrible salesperson. I hated to sell. And I said, who's the best salesman in town? And the person said, Mike Huddleston. I go, Mike Huddleston. I don't even know who he is. They said, well, here's his phone number. So he worked at a local TV station. I dial the number. I'm all scared. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I go, and he goes, Huddleston. And I go, hey, Mike, I'm Barry. You don't know me, but people said you're the best salesman in the area. And I said, I can't sell worth a crap. I would love to learn from you. Could I sometime, buy you a lunch or something and learn from you? And there was a little bit of silence. And he goes, what are you doing at noon today at Casa D'Angelo? And I go, I'm not doing anything. He said, okay, meet me at Casa D'Angelo, noon. So he helped me, gave me great input. And at the end of the lunch, and we continued this friendship for decades, at the end of the lunch, I said, okay, why did you help me? And guys, what do you think he told me?
Because you asked.
Yeah.
I was the only person who's asked him. He said, people don't ask me for help. Nobody asked me. He said, I'm the number one salesman in the entire network, and nobody asked me for help.
Intimidated. And
he said, I was happy to help you. I want to see you do well. So, and he taught me some really good things. I mean, I had just come from an appointment with a client, and the client made me wait 30 minutes, and I could hear the client in the next room talking. And eventually, I was told he's not available today. So I told this to my friend Mike, and he said, okay, go back again. And he said, wait 15 minutes. And if he does this, get up and say, I've got to go to the receptionist. I've got to go. I got other things to do. So I went again. I waited 15 minutes. I heard the guy in the other room. I mean, he was just sticking it to me. So I got up at 15 minutes. I said to the receptionist, sorry, I've got to go. And she said, well, you have an appointment with Mr. So-and-so. I said, it's 15 minutes. I said, I have another appointment, but just let him know I was here. I got back to my house. The phone was ringing. Those were in the days before the cell phone. So this was your phone connected to your house, was ringing. I pick it up. It's him. And he says, I apologize. Tomorrow, show up at 8. I will personally greet you at the front door of our company. I went in and we went on to 10 years of multi-million dollars worth of work with that company. And that was the company that offered me to take over their marketing department. So that's how big that thing became.
Wow.
But it was because I asked Mike Huddleston for help.
That's awesome.
So you guys find your own Mike Huddleston out there and ask. And by the way, don't worry if the guy feels kind of good about himself. Don't worry. Check your ego at the door and think, you know what? That old son of a gun knows more than I do. And that guy, that Mike Huddleston, I looked at him, I thought, yeah, he's a lot older than me. Yeah, he's like 2 years older than me. I just felt he was so much more advanced. You know, I was probably 30 at the time. I thought he was 45. He's like 32 years old. You know, it's like, oh my God. But that's what you do. You ask, go to somebody and humble yourself and say, hey, God, I stink at this. Could you help me?
Wow. That's
so,
good.
I challenge all listening to do that. You do that, and you've made your life better. Yes. Find your Mike Huddleston.
That's right. We'll end with that. Good advice right there. Go find your Mike Huddleston.
Right.
Be humble. And ask.
That's right.
Yep. Great.
All right. Until next time. Thanks again, Barry.
Thank you,
make
guys.
sure you visit Barry at barrylabov.com. And then he's got his LinkedIn here. I'm going to put all those in the description below so that it'd be easy for you guys to click on. Now you don't have to memorize it and copy and paste and whatnot. Just hyperlink it. And you guys pay Barry a visit. Maybe ask him.
Sure.
Maybe he'll be your
Mike Huddleston.
Your Mike Huddleston.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Again for being on there. Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business